This morning, Florida Congressman Greg Steube joins us live to react. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go ahead and pull up this quote here from DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and this reads, quote, "We are on pace to encounter more individuals on the southwest border than we have in the last 20 years. The situation we are currently facing at the southwest border is a difficult one. We are tackling it. We are keeping our border secure, enforcing our laws, and staying true to our values and principles." We were talking in the commercial break, and you say based off the numbers and based on the fact that there are 2 amnesty bills on the floor this week, you don't see this getting better. Can you explain?
Yeah, of course it's not going to get better. When Biden talks about giving amnesty to illegal immigrants, and then we have 2 bills on the floor this week, one that gives amnesty to dreamers and one that gives amnesty to illegal farm workers that are present here in the country, people are going to try to get here as quick as they can so they can be here when this amnesty happens in our country. And I feel very confident that the bill is going to pass the Democratic-led, Pelosi-led House. And so it's going to be up to the Senate, but they're going to try to shove this through the House this week and push it over to the Senate in hopes that they can give amnesty to all the illegal people that are already here in our country. When you talk about policies like that, that is going to push an illegal push from as many people that it possibly can get here during that time, because you're going to say, hey, look, if you're here in the country and we give you amnesty, you're going to be included in that. So I don't think this is going to slow down. In fact, I think it gets worse. We're on par to get to a number that if you take the over 100,000 that came in February, if you keep looking at these numbers, we're going to have more people illegally coming to this country than we had combined in the last 3 years. That is very problematic to our nation. If we don't have a border, we don't have a nation at all. And I don't think that the mass majority of Americans think this is a good policy for the United States, including the fact that 10% of these people are testing positive for COVID, and we're not doing anything as a country about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention 4 arrests of people who are on the terror watch list this year alone. But, Congressman, I want to pull up some figures that we've got to show our viewers of southern border migrant encounters. In February, it was over 100,000. It's the highest since June 2019. And it's up 174% since 2020. And if we look at the number of children coming across unaccompanied per day, it has gone up from 313 in February to 565 now. This is the worst in 20 years, according to Mayorkas. And lots of people talk about crisis and using the word that. Some people say it's just semantics, but doesn't it show that the Biden administration is maybe not taking this seriously enough? And if that's true, why not?
Well, they're absolutely not taking it serious enough, and they want clearly open borders. They talked about it during the campaign. All the Democratic candidates for president talked about it. And Biden tried to act like he was a centrist or more of a moderate candidate, yet we're seeing one of the most progressive open border policies from a president we've ever seen in the history of our country. And you're seeing all these children come to the border because we have this thing called chain migration. So if a child gets here and then if we give them citizenship because they're here as a dreamer, as they like to call it, which is probably the most supported of these illegal immigration amnesty plans, is giving status to these dreamers. Well, if they get here as a child, because of our chain migration laws, they can then bring in all of the rest of their family, not just the nuclear family, but their cousins and their aunts and their uncles. So that's why they want to get children here, so that they can be the anchor children for their entire family through the chain migration program that we have. And that's problematic for our country.
We want to get your opinion on this as well, because yesterday the Biden administration announced federal investigators found no evidence that foreign powers manipulated any election results in the 2020 presidential race. However, the intel report finds Russia and Iran tried to influence the election. What do you know about this?
Well, of course they tried to influence election. They're one of our enemies. And the fact that the Biden administration is going to reverse policies that the Trump administration had that was tough on Iran and tough on our enemies, like the no-fly list. Now we're going to allow terrorist harboring countries like Iran to fly and travel here to the United States. That's not breeding for the safety and security of our nation. That's not the direction that we should be going for the safety and security of our nation. I think you're going to see significant problems, especially if the Biden administration, like they have talked about getting back into the JCPOA as it relates to the Iran nuclear deal. That's very problematic for our country. The last thing that we need in the world is Iran with the ability to either get to or have nuclear capabilities. It's not good for the region in the Middle East. It's not good for our domestic partners like Israel in that region. So we need to continue to be tough on Iran, and those sanctions that we've imposed on Iran have been very, very productive in pushing back the #1 state sponsor of terror in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, we see Iran launching more rockets at US bases in Iraq time and time again. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for, but we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks for having me.